सर्वं ब्रह्म उपनिषदम् आहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि नियतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. In this 20th class on Chāndogya Upanishad, on this day, October 14, 2022, we are going to conclude chapter 6, Shashtaha Adhyayaha of this great work from Samaveda. We have been seeing how the father Uddalaka has been instructing the son Shvetaketu on the one undivided truth. Sat eva somya idamagra asi ekam eva advitiyam. Sat alone was, is, and will be. Sat alone, which is one without a second, is what truly is. All else is vacharambhanam, only for speaking, which means on a certain transactional plane, they may seem to have a reality. But when the error in perception, spiritually speaking, there is this error called ajnana, avidya or adhyasa. If that is removed, then everything outside and inside, above and below, in the past, present or in future, in waking, dream or deep sleep, everything, everywhere, at all time is one truth only. To convey this one Advaita Satya, Father Uddalaka has been giving number of illustrations, and he also conveys through those illustrations certain aspects of sadhana. For example, in an earlier section, he emphatically said, Acharyavan Purusho Veda. In this last section, which is the 16th in the entire chapter, which otherwise is the 9th among the 9 sections giving out TAT-TVAM-ASI, we find another fascinating illustration. And the illustration and the illustrated, Drishtanta and Darshtantika, have an intimate connection. In the Drishtanta, it is shown how truth has unbelievable power. Someone who is truthful cannot be burnt even by a red-hot axe. And a liar, an untruthful person, gets burnt. Is this true? You may ask. How can the red-hot or highly heated axe made of iron not burn the hand of a truthful person? On one level, you may take this as what they at places called Dantakatha. there is a category of stories, Danta Katha, where a lot of things are said which are hard to believe going by common sense. Right now, especially in Karnataka, a certain movie is making big news. The movie is named Kantara. I saw a couple of video clips which are more promotional about that movie. It's talk of the town. Everybody is asking everybody else in the Karnataka, did you see Kantara? Did you go? And cinema theaters are full. People are going second, third time. This morning at the hairdressing salon, my barber happened to be a Kannadiga, so I am in Bombay now. And even as he started cutting my hair, he asked me, he knows I am also Kannada speaking, Sir, did you see Kantara? So then I had to tell him I know what it is about, but I have not seen the movie. He was urging me, please go see, it is available, it's there in nearby theaters. Okay, what's the connection with Chāndogya Upanishad? In this movie Kantara, which is in Gujarat and Hindi and other versions too, people who are non-Kannada also may see it in theaters in India and abroad. It is actually the second line of that movie's title is a Danta Katha. Danta Katha probably comes close to mythology. See, we have in Ramayana Agni Pariksha for Sita. After she spent almost a year at Ravana's Ashoka Vatika, Ram wins the war and he has to take her back to Ayodhya. In a much debated, much discussed episode of Ramayana, Sri Rama himself says, you have to go through a fire test. And Sita humbly says, yes. She enters fire and nothing happens to her. She comes out unscathed. So in this movie Kantara also, I don't know the details, but it is a Danta Katha. It is a mythological story. And what is more, my barber this morning and I myself happen to be from a certain district, Udupi and Mangaluru. And that whole movie is set in the culture of that district. It is in that district, I grew up with that. I grew up with a lot of exposure to that there is a tremendous amount of belief in certain bhuta called Panjurli, Babbarya. There's some names, there are many such. Ask anybody if you have a friend from Udupi, Mangalore, Karkala, etc., coastal Karnataka, they will tell you a dozen names. For villages, there are some ghostly figures. And they are not exactly ghosts, they are certain demigods or certain figures which are not visible, but there are little temples for them. They are way down, way below Rama, Krishna, Shiva, etc. They are nowhere near that height. But they are powerful beings. And villagers have tremendous faith in them. And this Kantara is about certain stories. And to conclude the reference to it, it has, above all, the hero of the movie going into what they call an avesha. Avesha means the divine being, the semi-divine being enters into him. And then he is a totally different person. He gets inhuman or superhuman or unbelievable powers, both physically and mentally. he then can know things. He can handle all kinds of challenges. So that movie is about such mythological aspects. And even today, lots of people believe in that. In the Chāndogya Upanishad, the very hot iron axe being touched by a truthful man, and he not getting burnt at all, and being touched by a liar who immediately gets his hand burnt. He is to be taken on that plane. But if you say, I do not wish to subscribe to such beliefs, then let me give you a second meaning. Take it as symbolic, and all it means is the power of truth is way higher than what you may ordinarily believe. After all, Gandhiji said, truth is God. Power of truth has been praised by wise people all over the world in all cultures. Therefore, take the expression Agni Parikshe or Agni Pariksha, the fire test, symbolically. What it means is certain very hard situations can also be met by a truthful person, for in his or her heart, he or she is very well anchored in truthfulness and has deep faith in truth. Faith moves mountains, we say. Therefore, without going into the issue of whether such a hot axe can really not burn a truthful person and burn right away a liar, take it in its spirit, the power of truth. And now the main connection between this drishtanta, illustration, and the truth being conveyed, the darshtantika, is this. In earlier sections also, the question was raised. How come certain people are reborn? Shankaracharya in his commentary says, as a tiger, as a cow, as sheep, as a bird, or as a human being, of course. Certain people, who are the vast majority, are reborn, and here is someone with Samyak Darshana, who sees the undivided Brahma Tattva, the undivided Atma Tattva, and she or he is not reborn. That is connected with how 20 liars, one after another, get their hand burnt upon touching this hot iron, that iron axe. And there is one truthful person who does not get burnt. So let's see the title slide now. In the title slide, this very point is conveyed. It is all about, on one hand, in the context of the illustration, the power of truth. On the other, in the context of the theme proper, it is the power of the right vision, Samyak Darshana. So we try to take a look at this first slide, which is the title slide. Let's see if we can bring that onto the screen. My screen, it has not come. That's not. Yes. TAT-TVAM-ASI appears for the 9th time, the slide also says. And in this 9th occurrence of the Mahavakya, thou art that, we have the power of right seeing being compared with the power of truthfulness. The Upanishads have right seeing as their main topic. Upanishads are all about Samyak Darshana. Samyak Darshana makes all sorrow come to an end. So the words which have been culled out of the second mantra are given here. Satyabhisandaha, one who is Satya Abhisandaha, totally united with truth, totally truthful. Parashum Taptam Pratigrahnati, he holds, he accepts, he receives in his hand the very hot Parashu, that is the axe. Sa nadahyate, is not burned. Atha muchyate, he is released. In the illustration, he is released, he is let go, he is allowed to go away by the soldiers or the policemen who had come from a king, let us say. In the second slide now, we see the whole setting explained in a little more detail. The second slide actually gives the first mantra of the 16th section in its entirety. It says, the father, namely Uddalaka, addresses the son, Purusham Somya Utahasta Grahitam Anayanti. Purusham Anayanti. The soldiers bring a man, not just one man really, they bring several people who are suspected to have stolen some money. And when someone asks them, why have you arrested these 4 or 5 people? About every one of them, the soldiers make this allegation. Apaharshi, one of these people has, or in fact, it could be several, stolen money. This man has stolen money. This man has stolen money. It's in singular. Apaharshi. Now, apaharana is literally taking from one place to another. Even if some money is received as a gift, somebody receives the gift and is taking away. Soldiers may pounce upon him, you stole it. So, to clear that scenario where it might not be simply a gift, the soldiers say to onlookers, Steyam akarshi. Steya is stealing. A thief is called stena. Stainyam is also same as steyam. Parashamasmai tapata. And in that setting of the Dantakatha or mythological setting, there is a certain magical axe. It burns only the liars. It doesn't burn truthful people. I may mention quickly one more Dantakatha of Vikramaditya of Ujjain. Ujjain is where there is even today a great Shiva temple, Mahakala. Most of you would have seen in the last few days. The Mahakala corridor has been opened by the present Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Ujjain. So, in Ujjain, there was Vikramaditya, and in his story also, there is a very interesting factor that comes in. He gets to acquire certain simhasana or some simhasana. If he sits on it, then he will be able to know truth from the false. And in that story, that throne, the simhasana eventually, after Vikramaditya goes away, etc., it goes into some forest area. It's below some rock. And those who stand on the rock speak truth. If they tell a lie standing on the rock, some harm comes to them. There's some very interesting story. So I too don't remember all the details, but the throne and The rock in the forest below which that throne actually is after hundreds of years, that rock itself has certain special powers. To stand on that, and if you tell a lie, you will have some problem. So, stones and chairs and iron and many other things. There are these Danta Kathas. I will not talk more on Danta Katha. Take it as a possibility, as I would not say irrational. I would say it is so certain things in life are beyond reason. So Parashum Asmai Tapata. In order to test this person, Asmai, for this man, Parashum Tapata, heat this axe. So some soldiers quickly heat up an axe to very high temperature. Sayadi tasya karta bhavati. One by one they test out those 4 or 5 people. If this man says, I have not stolen, this money which I have with me is my own, I received somewhere as a gift. This is not stolen money, sir, this is my own money. If he says, and actually he has stolen, tasya steyasya karta yadi bhavati, tata anrutamatmanam kurute. He becomes a liar. He himself becomes a lie. Atmanam anritam kurute. It's a poetic expression. He tells a lie, he becomes a lie. He is not just a liar, he is a lie. So it's a manner of saying it emphatically. He is himself falsehood. Saha anrita abhisandaha anritena atmanam antardhaya. Between the axe and him, there is lie. There is a lie. Can a lie protect him from the axe? Antardhaya, he imagines by telling a lie, I'll save myself. It's like somebody says, touch this hot axe. And if I take a cotton cloth and, like a handkerchief, cover my hand and touch the iron axe, will that cotton kerchief save me? Antardhaya means covering himself, hiding himself behind a lie. A lie is like a cotton cloth. It also gets burnt and man's hand also gets burnt. Sahanrutaabhisandaha anrutena atmanamantardhaya parashum taptam pratigranati saha dahyate atahanyate. He gets burnt and the soldiers will not spare him, they beat him up. He gets beaten. The next slide says now you have the case of the truthful man or lady, it could be. Atayadi tasya akarta bhavati. Among the 4 or 5 arrested, there is one who actually did not steal at all. The few gold coins, a little silver that he has in his pockets were all what he had earned through honest ways. Akarta and Saha Satyam Atmanam Kurute. Even as he looks into the eyes of the soldiers and says, I have not stolen. This is my hard-earned money. Saha Satyabhisandaha Satyena Atmanam Antardhaya. So it is like he also holds Satya, not Asatya, unlike the previous case, between the hot iron and himself. Not a cotton handkerchief, but he has something made of solid metal or some substance which is between the iron axe, which is heated, and his hand. Parashum taptam pratigranati saha na dahyate athamuchyate. That's about it. The story ends here. Very simple. There was yet another story where a king is told that he had several queens. All these queens are not very loyal to you. These are all stories with which we grew up, in children's magazines. There used to be such stories. Now, the king says, I don't think so. They are all such nice women. Then a wise man says, Well, they may not have done something wrong, but in their mind, they have been more loyal or more attracted to some other men than you, O king. That also disturbs the king a lot. I remember reading such a story in school days. Then the king asked that visitor, some wise man, how do I know, how do I test the purity of the mind of all these queens? And the queen says, in front of a crowd of maybe 30 or 40 people, the 4 or 5 queens were asked to come one by one. And very strange story. You will enjoy listening to the story. After all, there is a child in every one of you. There is someone who loves stories. There was a bamboo basket and there was a well. And the wise man, who is a seer, who has certain special powers apparently, says, let your queens say loudly, I have never thought of any other man and his company for myself. I am totally loyal to my husband, the king. Let them say it loudly, and then with this bamboo basket, let them draw water from the well. The bamboo basket was tied to a rope, and there is a block, how water used to be drawn from a well in good old days. Hesitatingly and nervously, one after another, the queens come and they try to draw water, and the bamboo basket doesn't hold any water. Even as it gets filled with water and they pull it up, all the water leaks away. The turn comes of the main principal queen, Maharani. She puts her head down and says, I do not wish to take this test. And the king says, why not? She says, O king, I have been totally loyal to me. But after all, I am a human being and sometimes the mind wanders. Therefore, I don't know, even I may fail. Then he says, go ahead. And she makes some special prayers because of her honest submission or honestly admitting that my mind sometime, somewhere could have been disloyal. It is as though the powers above had given her special protection. She pulls the basket, not a drop of water falls away from the basket. She draws water. And anyway, the lesson of the story is left to you. Probably it was conveying in black and white who is at fault, who is guilty, and who is innocent. Or maybe the story was conveying how in human life hardly anyone has a pure, 100% pure mind, given that Maharani also had to make some humble submissions. Nadahyate athamuchyate. Now, in the last mantra that we see, and that is the last mantra of this section, last mantra of this chapter 6 also. Next class, we will be starting the 7th chapter, where it is Narada going and meeting Sanat Kumara. Sayata tatra na adahyeta. Adahyeta is same as dahyeta. The truthful man was not burnt. He would not get burnt. Adahyeta. Potential move. He would not get burnt at all. That's it. The story ends there. And the last 3 lines are how a little different from earlier mantras. The last mantra of the previous 8 sections had the same wordings. Here, partly they are the same, partly they are different. Vaitadatmamidam sarvam. So let's simplify the matter. Let's say, just as truthfulness, adherence to Satya, made that truthful man not get burnt by even a red hot iron axe. Here too, the truth of the entire universe does not let you get bound. Shankaracharya, in one of the sentences in his Bhashya, says, Satya Abhisandhi and Satya Anabhisandhi. Being tied to truth and not being connected to truth made a big difference. The one who was connected to truth saved himself from being burnt. The other 4 or 5 who were not connected to truth, who were lying, got burnt. So, on one hand, Shankara says, Satya Abhisandhi, Satya Anabhisandhi. And then he says, likewise, this Satya, here also there is a Satya. Tat Satyam, Sa Atma, Tat-TVAM-ASI. In this mantra also you see. This Satya is not just truthfulness in speech. This Satya is what actually is in this entire universe. The entire universe, outside and inside, is Brahma and nothing else at all. So, Acharya Shankara says, here too, those who have the vision of the Satya, Satya Darshana, Samyak Darshana on one hand, and Satya Adarshana, Samyak Adarshana or Asamyak Darshana on the other. What would be the result in the episode illustration? It was being saved or being burnt by the axe. Here it is being freed, moksha, and being bound in samsara, bandhana. Na dahyate, dahyate was in the illustration. Muchyate, vadhyate is the matter with the Darshtantika. Therefore, we must understand in Upanishadic mantras, what comes to us is like notes, quick short notes. Between these sentences which we are actually reading, studying, contemplating upon, actually between Uddalaka and Shvetaketu, a few more words might have been said. And what do I mean? Uddalaka might have more explicitly said, you see, like there is great power even in spoken truth, as in the story, there is infinitely more power in seeing the truth of the entire existence of everyone. Every one of us is Sat-Chit. Every one of us is pure existence. Every one of us is pure awareness with no division of subject and object, with no division of good and bad, with no division of far and near. We are the existence principle. We are the knowledge principle, Sat and Chit, and that also is most blissful. It is the Ananda Tattva. Therefore, Sat Chit Ananda. So, truthfulness in speech is the illustration, but darshana of truth is the illustrated. And this truth, about which we are giving example after example, is called Atma, and you are that. Tat-TVAM-ASI Shvetaketu. And with these 9 illustrations, 9 stories, 9 examples, 9 settings, etc., several of the doubts of Shvetaketu vanished. Tadha asya vijajnau. In this mantra, Shvetaketu doesn't say, Bhuya eva bhagavan mam vijnapayatu. Tell me again. He would have said if there was one more doubt. He became totally clear. Again, Shankara Bhashya says, Shravana Manana Dididhyasana Purvakam. Through these 9 illustrations, the pure-minded, brilliant boy that Shvetaketu was ascended to higher and higher levels of clarity. Through these 9 dialogues, in which Tat-TVAM-ASI came and again, He cleared many doubts, passed the level of manana, and in this ninth one, when all doubts were cleared, he stayed free of doubt. He stayed free of any oscillation or vacillation. He stayed free of any more, you know, distraction. No vikshepa. He stayed extremely firm in that understanding. That's called the phala of nididhyasana. Vijaj now. Judge now itself means he knew now. Vijaj now. He knew with no shadow of doubt. Vijaj now iti. Vijaj now iti. Mentioning it twice, what it means is the section comes to an end. You know that Vedas, of which Upanishads are also a part, were in the ancient times not written down in any book. They were recited, they were memorized, they were chanted, they were spoken, they were in verbal form. Printed books, or before printed books, some Palmyra leaves and other media came later. And in our times, we have moved to yet another level. It is all in digital version on the media. A lot of younger generation nowadays hardly buy printed books. You mention to them some new book which has come, they say, "Yeah, I already got it in my Kindle." Oh, they are using soft copies. But originally, neither soft copy nor hard copy, but it was recited. So when they are reciting various mantras, how do we know a particular section ended? Taddasya vijajnau, taddasya vijajnau iti. Where there is a repetition, even as they are reciting and others are hearing, they know that section got over. Now another section will begin. Or Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. There are some signs of a section coming to an end. Thus, we have completed Shashtaha Adhyaya, chapter 6, and especially we have dealt with Tattva-masi in 9 different ways. This will continue to be very valuable portion for our manana and nididhyasana. We salute, we bow down before Uddalaka, before Shvetaketu, before all the rishis. Namah Parama Rishibhyo, Namah Parama Rishibhya.